How you doing, everyone, and welcome to this special edition, I suppose, of 8 Bits in the Basement. Now, the reason this actual episode exists is that I want to get myself a Commodore VIC-20. It's one of the first computers I ever had. And they are very damned expensive. They weren't too bad a year or two back, but now, well, at least any I've seen on any sites here, they're anywhere from 80 to 150 euro just for a bare bones unit. Now, I'm not willing to spend that kind of money on an old computer. I mean, when I started this thing, they weren't all that expensive. I was able to get many of the systems I have for less than 30 euro. But nowadays, that's just not the case anymore. So the only way that I can realistically afford to spend that kind of money is to buy something at a reasonable price and try and sell it on for a little bit more. And that's why when I saw this Amstrad 6128, that's in a fairly bad state, and it's not working apparently, on a site here in France for just 30 euro, I said I'd pick it up and I'd see if I could make up the few cables it needs and maybe, well, fix it up and see if we could get it working, and then see what price we could sell it on for, and hopefully with the monies we get from it, turn it into a Commodore VIC-20. So that's the plan on this. So this guy has arrived with me today. And what we'll do is, before I evaluate the vendor, we'll open up the box and see what's in it. Voila, up. Okay, it's got everything it should have in it. It's got its disk drive. It's a little bit broken here, but it's got its screws. The motherboard is in there. Oh, it's got an AZERTY keyboard on it. The picture that he showed me wasn't an AZERTY. It's a different unit than the picture he showed, I think. It's got an AZERTY keyboard. Well, I suppose that's even better. The keys are quite stiff and they're quite full of dust and stuff. And some of them have a little wear and tear on them. But that's all right. So after getting a fair few whacks and a fair few belts, but everything seems to be intact on it. Okay, we'll pop it open and we will see what way it is on the inside. And now this here should come off, and I just remove the keyboard membrane. So this guy here we will take out, and this guy here we'll take out too. So that's a keyboard disassembled. It's got its, okay, let's see, what has it got? It's got its speaker, and it's got its power LED. It's got its keyboard, quite obviously, and it's got some kind of relay there. It's got all kinds of bits of dust. It's got its little turny volume knob fella. This here is our drive, and it's in a bit of a state, kind of dirty wise, but it's the same. It looks to be the same type drive as I already have. Yeah, it looks to be the same. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove everything, and I'm going to give it a thorough good little cleaning for itself. There we go, and we can test out the switch and all that kind of stuff, see that it's working and whatnot. This guy here is just a little retaining, not clip, but a retaining piece of plasticated metal. Now, that moves that out of the way. And this switch here should just come up and out. And this guy here should do somewhat the same. Now, nice little modular type system. And it'll let us clean everything up the way it should be cleaned. So here we are. This is our disk drive. This is the power connector on the disk drive. And this here is the data connector. So we've got our red pin 1 over to this side here. That's fine. There we go. That's our drive. Yeah, it looks to be exactly the same as the other one I have. So that's going to need a little bit of a cleaning as well. a little bit of an oiling or a greasing or whatever, but we'll see. Okay, so this here should come out too. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the motherboard. We have liberated the motherboard. Okay, so let's see, what do we have? That's our Zilog processor. That is our gate array. We've got our sound chip here, the AY38912, I think. It's very dusty though. Yeah. Yeah, all the chips seem to be intact. Apart from dust, it seems to be in fairly decent condition. Okay, so these guys here need to be cleaned up. The board's going to need a good little clean. Okay, we'll put the board down here. We've got this guy here is going to need a good clean too. But the plastics aren't, well, this side of it, it's not cracked. What's that? Looks like a little ant or a little, I don't know what, a little bug of some description. Now, so we've gotten that apart. So before we give that a good cleaning and all the rest, we're going to take the keyboard apart as well. And we'll see about giving that a good cleaning too. Okay. Oh look, the space bar is stuck right down and it's dirty and dusty as shit. Yeah, the space bar is catching. Nothing a good cleaning won't fix. Oh, it looks well, it looks like it was stored in a barn for about 70 years, which may not be too far from the truth. This guy opens up quite easy. There's a load of little clips. All you have to do is undo them, and that will give you access to every other thing. Okay, oh man. They're full of little dust bunnies. There we go. Here's our membrane. This guy here. Oh, look at all that. Look at all that lovely dust. Man, keyboard membrane here. We'll give it a preliminary clean this one. Now, okay, so it's time to get cleaning. Time to big clean up on this whole thing. So after giving a little bit of a wipe down, now what we're going to do is we're going to clean all the individual pieces. So I'm going to start with this old keyboard membrane. Not knowing what kind of condition it's in now, to tell you the truth, because this is supposed to remain stuck together, I think, but as you can see, it's a kind of coming apart. So I'm just going to leave it like that. We're going to make sure nothing gets in to the membrane itself, and we'll give it a good little clean with some window cleaner, like window lean or one of those kind of things. A little rubber window lean. We're not going to make it any worse, I don't think. So I'll just give it a good wipe down that way. And the tracks on it look to be fairly alright. They look to be fairly okay on it. But again, I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. I mean, it's a simple enough little system, but it would be quite hard to repair that if anything went wrong with it. That's the thing. And we'll have a look at this. Now, so what I'm going to do with this, I think the quickest and the best way to do this, I'm going to flip all the keys out of it if I can. They're just held in, I think. Yeah, we'll flip all the keys out. Do I need I don't have one of those little key puller thingies, but I don't think I really need one. What we have is we have 3 pieces of plastic on each key. Now we've got the middle part of the key with the spring out of it, and then there's this kind of a piece of plastic here that's, I suppose, just a guide to show us the way it fits in. And then there are 2 clips, one here and one here. And all I'm doing is I'm just bending the clip back a bit with my fingernails. And when I bend them back enough, it allows the key just to slip out like that. That's all. So they're easy enough to take out. Now to take out these little bars, what I'm doing, if you can see it, there's a little piece that juts out here on each end. So all I'm doing is putting my fingernails as best I can onto it. and pulling it. Whoops, doesn't want to happen now. Pulling it towards me. And that way, they just pop out like this. And then I do the same trick as I was doing earlier with little tabs and giving a push. And the key comes out. And little bar stays here, and we can take it out and put it somewhere safe. There we go. Spacebar has 2 springs on it. They go to either side, and they're different than all the other springs. They seem to be much thinner somehow. Anyway, there we go. That's the space key. So that's all the keys off. Loads of dust. And this guy's dusty as we done too. So I'm going to give that a little wipe with this old paintbrush here. Once over like that. Okay, this here's the part that takes the most time of all in any of these beauty cleaning things, is the keyboard, because there's so many pieces in it and it just takes so long to do. The Amstrad is kind of particular in a way because these little springs here, I don't want to actually wash the keys with those little springs in place in case they start rusting afterwards. So now that I've taken those springs out of all the keys, I can plunge these into some hot soapy water for a while and give them all a little scrub of a toothbrush and just leave them dry overnight or until next weekend, I suppose, before I reassemble all that again. So I'm after getting myself some hot water in a jar with a little drop of washing up liquid in it, and I'm just going to throw all these keys in so that they all get a nice little bathing for, I don't know, the next hour or so, and then I give them a good little scrub with a toothbrush. I let them to dry. I'm after putting all of these little springs back into these little keys here, as you can see. So it takes a little while, but it actually works quite well. Now, the only problem that I have, or that I may have, because I'm not sure if this is going to cause a problem or not, there are a couple of these little springs went beyond what they call their elastic limit. When I was pulling them out, I kind of overstretched them. There's 2 or 3 like that, and it may be the case that this causes constant contact on a key. You know, when it's put back in, that it keeps the button pressed down. We won't know. We'll see when it's all put back together. All the rest of them look to be fairly okay. This guy here as well is another key that seems to be a little over its elastic limity thing. But there we go. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reassemble my keyboard, and those keys that are a little out of whack we'll put to one side. We'll see if it makes a difference or not. It's an awful lot better than it was. None of the keys are sticking, and hopefully it'll work. So the best way I decided to test my keyboard was to test it with the Amstrad mainboard that I had in the system. So I gave the mainboard quick little dust off. I had looked to see that there were no leaky capacitors, that there was no obvious shorts, and that all the socketed chips were placed in the sockets the correct way around. And I connected it all back up. I decided that I'd connect the speaker, I'd connect the LED, the volume control, the little power switch, and I'd test everything at once that way and see if there were any problems or if the thing just kind of worked out of the box. And I powered on. And I was delighted because this is exactly what I got. I got the blue screen with the yellow text on it. However, the only difference was the character X was running across the screen like this without me pressing anything. Once I pressed any other key on the keyboard, it would stop. But there was another few little strange problems like that too. For example, when I pressed the D key, it came up 3D, the F key, 4F. When I pressed spacebar, I not only got space, but I also got an inverted comma. So I thought to myself, maybe it's those little long springs on some of the keys that are causing that. So I turned off the system and took out the 4 keys that I knew had spring problems. And when I put it back on with those keys missing, everything worked away perfectly. I didn't get any of these funny characters on screen, and any keys I pressed worked properly. So I decided to fix up those springs as best I could. And this is how I did it. The spring that I put back into, when I was taking it out, it got stretched way beyond. So what it's doing is it's causing constant pressure on the keyboard membrane, even when the key isn't pressed. It's keeping the contact on the inside pressed down. So I want to cut a little piece off it so that it just protrudes a small bit when it's pushed in. And what I need to be careful to do is that the side that's cut is the side that's going to be put in on the keycap here, because I don't want it to damage the membrane in any way. Now. Okay, so once I got my spring issue resolved, everything appeared to be working perfectly fine. The keyboard is now working great. All the keys are working properly the way they should, and not giving any kind of extra characters or anything that they shouldn't be displaying. While I was at it, I did a quick test that I think most everyone knows about, is to press Del when there's no characters on screen, and you'll get a beep from the speaker. So what I did was I kept Del pressed down until it started beeping mad, and I checked my volume control knob. And as you can see, that appears to be working perfect. So I got the speaker working, the volume control knob working, the switch is obviously working, and this little power LED here is lit up when the system is turned on. So, I mean, the motherboard appears to be working properly. But what I'd like to do in the next episode nonetheless is I'd like to really zone in on the motherboard. We'll do memory tests. We'll check the expansion port. We'll check the second floppy disk drive port. We'll check to see that the joystick port is working properly. There is a port here that you can connect headphones to. We'll see that that's giving out stereo sound the way it should. There's also a port that we can connect a cassette player to. So we'll see that that is actually saving programs and also capable of loading programs from that. So we'll really zone in and thoroughly drill down into the board, give it an excellently good cleaning, and test it all out and see if there's any little issues or anything with it. So that is a wrap on this for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, give us an old thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. I'd love to know what you think, or if there's anything you think I should do maybe to check out the motherboard a little bit more better, if there's any little ideas or suggestions you have. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves. And I'll talk to you all again very, very soon down here in the basement. Have a very good day. Good evening to all of you. Bye-bye.